And now 4 years later, like the hidden dream, Teen Vogue, like I never would have imagined all this. So I think it's so important to share your story.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Shining a Light. I'm your host, Sean Conrad. I'm super excited for you to hear this week's episode with our guest, Sarvani Kunapareddy. Sarvani is just a freshman in college, and she's already been featured on Teen Vogue's 21 Under 21 list. And she's the founder of The Hidden Dream, which is an organization that seeks to raise awareness about the plight of documented immigrants in this country. All right, let's get into it. I think what's really important for our audience to understand, you were born in India and you came to America when you were like, what, 3?
Yeah, when I was 4 years old.
4 years old, grew up in the States, and basically learned that your ability to stay in this country was going to be threatened by your immigration status.
Yeah, so as you said, I did move to the US when I was 4 years old. My mom had come about a year before my father and I, and so she was doing her master's at University of Texas Arlington. And so for a year, it was just me and my dad. And then we had moved over to Missouri, where I did from first to 12th grade, and I graduated high school there as well. And
So you grew up, you're from Missouri.
Yes, like I've done everything in Missouri, like it's my home. I met my best friends here. I started doing the activities like anyone else would. Like I played basketball, I ran track, I joined clubs. So I feel
Yes,
like
you're American.
I was very much like all my friends. And so even growing up, I knew about immigration. Like I knew I was an immigrant, my status, and I knew all that growing up. But right before my freshman year of high school, my parents kind of sat me down and they explained that there's a situation that I would be in where when I hit the age of 21, an age that so many Americans look forward to, I would be facing deportation. Like I would have to leave my family, leave my friends, leave everything I've ever known and go back to a country that I didn't even go back for 10 years. Like it's just like mind blowing. Like I'd have to leave my family.
And the fact that you're in university now seems like a miracle. So how did you go from having this sit down conversation with your parents when you were like 14 to creating this organization, The Hidden Dream, and now yourself being a freshman in college?
I realized that, like obviously it's important to raise awareness in the community, but the only people who can make these changes are policymakers. And so I tried to advocate, and I was able to meet with different Senate offices. And at first they were confused because they were like, oh, well, why wouldn't you have your green card? Like they didn't understand this issue.
They didn't even know this is a thing.
Yeah. And so it was like me and my mom and some other people who were also in this situation, just kind of trying to bring awareness. And I remember there were 2 other individuals in the same situation who were a little older than me. So they were around like 20. So they had a year left. And obviously it was a lot more urgent for them. And just seeing how inspiring their stories were kind of forced me to continue advocating.
I mean, I feel like for most Americans, we're aware there's a wall, that an orange man built it. And that's like the state of which we know about immigration in this country. But the nuance that there are hundreds of thousands of children you guys are documented, you came over on your parents' visas, you grew up as an American. And does that affect your ability to do things like apply to college, apply for financial aid?
So it actually does. I couldn't apply for FAFSA, which a lot of individuals can, and that means financial aid wise, like they're better off. Not only that, but when I was looking for scholarships, the majority of them clearly said U.S. citizenship required or permanent residence, and that's a green card, which I don't have. So it was really hard to find scholarships that I could even apply for too.
And what are you doing through The Hidden Dream to help others in your situation?
So there were some kids who were in like the same situation as me around my age, and some that were older, and they were basically like, hey, we've seen the advocacy you've done and we just want to talk to you. And I was like, okay, cool. And so there's like a month or 2 and we were just like talking, and we're like, there's no resources for those in our situation. Like there's no scholarship specifically for those that don't have a green card. And we're like, we need to be able to do something. this past year we were able to do college workshops. We had one with a student who's going to Harvard who's in our situation, and she explained like her background. We were able to have mental health workshops because the situation, it does put a lot of stress on people. And then we're started a college mentor workshop. And so, as I said, we don't have work authorization, we don't have an SSN. So for me, like a CS major, internships are important. So we're like, we need to do something where med students, business majors, all of these different majors can have real world experience. So we started a mentorship circle, which has been doing amazing. And there's such great projects going on. But I think our biggest like project ever has been our scholarship. And last year we raised about $5,000 and we were able to give out multiple scholarships. And this year we raised a lot more. So we're planning on giving out three scholarships like this fall and then three next spring. And so we just hope to continue that momentum and keep the community growing.
Yeah.
About
Soon you guys are going to be just the dream. It's no longer going to be hidden.
Hopefully at some point. Yeah.
Wow. And so what is your status now? Like, what are you facing when you do turn 21?
So I'm on a dependent visa on my parents who are on an H-1B, so they work in the US, and so I'm dependent on their visa.
So it's still what you've been on since you were little.
Okay, yeah. So in the future, the like biggest option I have, which most kids in this situation go through, is switching to an F1 visa, which is a student international visa. But what that does is now you're not dependent on your parents, but you're in the same line. So my mom came here on an F1 visa, like that. She came here to study. So if I'm to switch to an F1 visa, I would be in the same line as her and my dad, but like way behind. Like that's how it works.
And are your parents citizens now?
No.
So, and they moved here 20 years or like 15, however many years ago,
Yeah.
and got on that wait list, and they're still not citizens?
Yes. So we're still currently waiting.
Oh my gosh. And so
Yeah.
when you switch to this, you're going to get in the back of that line?
At that line, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just insane. And I mean, the biggest cause for this is just the immigration system hasn't been like updated. Like all these policies that have been passed are very outdated. Like back in the 80s or 90s when there weren't as many immigrants coming, but now there was like an influx, and but now the policies aren't up to date, you know? So that's kind of the biggest reason people are in this situation.
And so the advocacy you're doing now, what are you trying to change legally, and how is that going?
Trying to get these children who came here on a visa to be included in any immigration policies. So obviously the hidden dream, we make resources, and it's just continuing to help kids in this situation while any bills come, because we don't know how long it's going to take. It might be years down the line before any change happens. So I think one of my biggest goals has just been continuing to make resources and helping, because now I know younger kids who are maybe sophomores or juniors in high school, and now they're having the same talk I had 4 years ago, like, hey, this is your situation, but now there's resources for them. They can turn to our dependent visa survival guide or our scholarship list and be able to look at what can I do to be able to be okay? Like, how can I get through this? So it's just trying to help kids in that situation.
Is there anything we haven't discussed yet that you want to talk about?
One thing I do want to discuss is it took me a couple months to kind of get into that, hey, I need to share my story. I need to speak out. That's important. I think getting there takes different time for each person. You know, some people come into it naturally, others might take time. But I think one of the most important things to remember is it's not just you. Like there are hundreds of thousands of other kids that are in your situation. So just fight for those other people, like fight for yourself, but be inspired. Like try to share your story. And it's so scary at first because you're like, what if I say something wrong? What if I say something that puts me in a different situation, like a bad situation? And it's like, but share your story, because I feel like the only way to get your point across is to explain this is what I'm going through. This is my life. Like, if change doesn't happen, this is what I'm going to be like in a few years. I think that's one of the most important things to remember. And hey, like 4 years ago, I was just like freshman, and I was like, oh, like wow, like the situation, just like telling my friends. And now 4 years later, like the hidden dream, Teen Vogue, like I never would have imagined all this. So I think it's so important to share your story. And for anyone watching out there, if you're in this situation and you want to meet others, we have a Slack group of almost 400 kids that are facing this. We're there for each other. I've had so many Zoom calls with kids in our org who are maybe like sophomores or juniors, and they're like, I'm so lost. Like, I've had these sit down talks and kind of tried to help them. So if you're in this situation and you want to meet others, definitely join. You can find us on Instagram _ the hidden dream _. Like, we have great resources, so we'll try to do everything we can to support.
And how can people donate to the scholarship program?
We have our link in our Instagram bio and in our Twitter. We are fiscally sponsored now, so we are trying to get as many donations to continue funding our scholarship. So that's all on our Instagram page.
Who said it? Dennis Rodman versus Michael Jordan.
Okay.
I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
Michael Jordan.
Yes. If you have a problem with my answer, that's your problem, not my problem.
Dennis Rodman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's definitely, yeah.
If I want to wear a dress, I'll wear a dress.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. There's no I in team, but there is in win.
That's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I was
wow.
like, I definitely have seen that at my like school locker, like just
Oh,
painted
really?
on.
And lastly, my heroes are my parents. I can't see having anyone else as my heroes.
Michael Jordan.
Yes. Sarvani, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you everybody so much for watching today's episode with Sarvani Kunapareddy. I'm going to link her Instagram down below. Please donate to the Hidden Dream, support that scholarship fund, and support Shine Global if you can. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to Shine Global, and let's change the world.